Markets moved up in Russia after that speech by Vladimir Putin. Let's say hello to Marcus Carlson.
Hi there, Francois.
The latest is not just the markets, but also the currency.
Absolutely. We're hearing that Crimea, of course, wants to switch to the ruble as quickly as possible. And if we look at another angle of the money angle of this story, so to speak, despite international protests, Russia is now calling Crimea a part of its territory. Western powers say they're willing to take fresh steps to punish the Kremlin economically, but the annexation of Crimea could cost the Russian economy in another way. There are warnings that Moscow would have to pay billions each year to support the region. Claire Murphy has more.
Yalta, known as the Jewel of Crimea. But is this historic resort representative of the grand prize or the heavy burden that the region now represents to Moscow's coffers? Tourism is the lifeblood of the Crimean economy, but 3/4 of annual visitors are Ukrainian, who are now likely to make alternative plans.
This year, I think there won't be too many tourists. But nonetheless, I hope the authorities will try to ensure that some will come, because for Crimea, tourism is like food. Crimea lives off tourists.
On the surface, Crimea may appear prosperous, but its 2 million strong population depends on Ukraine for almost all of its electricity, drinking water and food. This will now have to be paid for.
70% of Crimean budget came from Kiev, so even higher share will have to come from Russia, because Crimea is losing now its tourist industry, getting more problems. So it's another subsidized region for Russian state budget.
Already the income differential is clear. The monthly wage in a neighbouring Russian region is more than twice that brought home by Crimeans. Economists say adding the peninsula to the Russian map could cost anywhere from $1 to $3 billion a year.
There's been a slew of protests in reaction to the annexation. Britain has suspended its military cooperation with Russia and also its arms exports. Here in France, Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius has also threatened to cancel the delivery of 2 warships. France struck a €1.2 billion military deal with Russia back in 2011 over the warships. The cancellation of the delivery of them could endanger around 1,000 jobs in a French shipyard. And Fabius said that France would only cancel the contract if other European countries also take action. Now, speaking earlier in Moscow, Russia's President Putin said Russia isn't looking to seize more of Ukraine. That helped to ease market concerns over the Ukrainian crisis and concerns that it could escalate. Let's take a look at where Wall Street is heading this hour. As you can see right here, there are gains across the board, with encouraging news of the U.S. housing market also helping out. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 0.6% this hour. Now, the European markets too closed higher on the back of Putin's comments. Germany's DAX index also closed in positive territory. This even as a reading of German economic sentiment plunged on the fears of the economic fallout from the Ukraine crisis. The DAX up almost 0.7%. Also, take a look at the MySex. It was up more than 4%. The MySex, of course, being Moscow's main stock index. Now, here are a few other stories that have caught our eye this Tuesday. Germany's Constitutional Court has given the Eurozone's bailout fund the green light. It's rejected complaints the European Stability Mechanism amounted to an illegal transfer of power from Berlin to Brussels. It removes the question mark for the €700 billion fund that's been put in place to deal with future debt crises. New car sales in the European Union rose in February for a 6th consecutive month. An industry body for car makers says sales were up by 8% in comparison to February of last year. Car sales, they're seen as a key measure of economic health. Experts caution from reading too much into the increased sales, though, since they remain close to historic lows last year. And after planes and trains, automobiles is next for the French businessman Louis Gallois. The board of carmaker Peugeot Citroën has picked him to be its new chairman. That's according to sources close to the matter. Gallois used to lead the state-owned railway company SNCF and the aerospace giant EADS. He's stepping in as Peugeot Citroën is still struggling with profitability after a €2.3 billion loss last year. Finally, music streaming services had a stellar 2013 with their annual sales topping $1 billion for the first time. The likes of Spotify and Deezer saw revenues grow by 51% last year to just over $1.1 billion. Music streaming services, they provide songs for a monthly subscription fee. The figures come from the International Federation of Phonographic Industry. For the music industry as a whole, sales, they were down almost 4% to $15 billion. So another bad year for the music industry as a whole, as CD sales